Welcome back, everyone. So next up, we're going to have our last round of lightning talks. So we'll spend the next 40 minutes going through these. And we're going to kick things off with Michael Liu, who's an XR software programmer at Seneca Polytechnic. And he's going to talk about leveraging XR for aviation training. And Michael, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here and present to you all today. So in this short talk, I will be showing a demo of one of the XR learning applications we've been developing here at Seneca, which is a virtual reality simulation of a Beechcraft King Air 200 plane cockpit. I'll also be going over the benefits of XR in aviation training, as well as a little bit about our general development process and some key considerations to keep in mind if you're integrating or developing your own XR apps at your institution. So first, I just want to quickly acknowledge the Seneca XR development team and our project SME, Spencer Warren. So this is a team of incredibly talented and passionate individuals who I've had the pleasure of working together with over the past couple of years on these development projects. So I just want to thank them for all of their hard work. So now you might be wondering, why did we decide to make this aviation app in the first place? Well, our team at Seneca puts out a call out every year to any faculty who are interested in integrating XR into their curriculum. So one of the project proposals we got was from the School of Aviation. And so their idea was essentially right now, the student's first step in getting certification on a new aircraft is to practice operating controls on this cardboard poster you see on the slide. And so they do that before moving on to a physical flight simulator. So the exercise is basically the students would sit down in front of the poster and the instructors would call out a scenario. So for example, maybe the plane's engine caught on fire. And so what the students have to do is they take their fingers and they just point to the different controls on the poster. So the problem with this exercise is that it's very simplified, and the King Air aircraft is much more complicated than the Cessna aircraft that they initially used to learn how to fly. So a lot of the students, they still have difficulty moving from the poster to the physical simulator. In addition to that, a lot of these methods are very inconvenient for students too, because the poster would usually have to be shared around with the class, and the physical flight simulator would need to be booked, and a instructor would have to be there at all times to supervise. So a lot of the students, they don't really have as much time as they might want or need to practice. So our goal with this app was to create something that's more engaging, more effective, and more accessible than what they have now. So now I'm going to show a quick demo video of our app. I apologize, there's no sound, some technical difficulties, but I hope you enjoy the video. All right. So the app you just saw is essentially an immersive and interactable translation of that 2D poster to a 3D VR version. And so by building this app, we provide students with an experience that is more realistic and interactive than the 2D poster. And it also makes the learning experience as a whole more engaging. And so this allows students to develop key muscle memory skills that are more in line with what they would use in the real world. It's also more accessible to the learners as well, because now they have access to the software wherever they have access to a VR headset or even just a regular PC. So with this, we hope that they will show improved performance when they do eventually begin to train on the physical simulator. And we have recently done some user testing with some students, and they've already expressed that they feel that it's going to be much more helpful of an exercise. So in general, if you're looking to integrate XR learning into your own institutions or build your own apps, there are a few key things that might want to consider. So the first thing is cost. So this includes not only the cost of the equipment, but also of the development team. So if you're building a development team, the main roles you sort of want, well, first you need a leader or a decision maker. Then you need a developer to program your app. You need a designer, and then you need an artist for creating assets. And so a single person might be able to do multiple of these roles or multiple people in the same role, but that's sort of a balance that you're going to have to find when you're building your development team. In addition to that, you also need to have a dedicated space for people to use your VR apps. So in the picture on the left, that's a picture of Seneca's dedicated VR lab located on our Newnham campus. So there we have 10 seated stations and a few standing play areas for students and faculty to use VR. Another thing you might want to consider is having an MDM software, which essentially is a software that allows you to push updates or upload new software to all of your devices at once. So this is very helpful, especially if you have maybe a few hundred headsets across multiple different campuses, and it's going to save you a lot of time to just do it all at once. And lastly, and probably the most important if you are developing your own apps, is project scope. And so this is important because it directly relates to how much resources and time you're going to have to devote to your projects. So in general, you want to keep your scope as small as possible while still including all of the essential features you want to include. And I'll talk a bit about it in the next slide using our own project as an example. So one of the first things we did after talking to the SME about their idea was we mapped out all of the interactions and all of the movable controls that we would need to implement, and we mapped it out on a Miro board. And so we did this because anything that would not add to the learning experience or would not be evaluated by the instructors, we didn't want to spend development time and resources towards it because it wouldn't be necessarily worth it. So after everything was mapped out, we developed everything in Unreal Engine 5, where we do the environments and the programming. And at the same time, any 3D assets our artist was working on were done in Blender and imported directly to Unreal. So all of this took about 1 year of development time to complete. We're currently in the beta testing phase with plans to get them into courses in the next couple semesters. And that concludes my presentation. So I hope this talk has given you a bit of insight into how XR can enhance aviation training and what goes into developing and integrating these applications. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message or an email, and I'll gladly answer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. That app looks amazing. I love the level of detail that y'all have. It's super impressive. So next up, we have Dr. John Soboslai, who's an associate professor at Montclair State University, who'll be presenting on how he has used XR when teaching religious studies. So John, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. As Tricia said, I'm Dr. John Soboslai. I've been teaching the academic study of religion for about 10 years now. And over that period, I've learned that we are really bad at teaching about lived religious experiences. If any of you have taken a religious studies course, you might realize we spend a lot of time on what people think and not a lot of time on what they do. So about 2 years ago, I started a project I'm calling Immersive Religion, which looks to kind of harness extended reality and bring students virtually into these religious spaces. So we've tried to gather a number of different elements together on the Immersive Religion platform, all focused mainly through AR, centered around 360-degree recordings of live religious practices. So we've reached out to the community at a few different places, contacted local religious communities, and just asked them, can we come in? Can we film a live practice of yours in 360 and put it to work for our students? We've edited those together. I'm jealous of Michael and his development team. I am the development team for this. I've had to learn Premiere Pro and Unity, and it's not going to look as slick as Michael's, but what we're doing is exciting, I think. We're not only using these edited and enhanced 360-degree videos, but we're incorporating interviews with religious professionals, the clergy members that perform the rites, as well as scholars of different religions. And we're incorporating graphics and further explanations alongside virtual tours of the religious spaces wherein these rituals take place, so students can not only kind of peruse them on their own time, but also get more information than even they would if they went in person. One of the really exciting parts about this project has been exploring what extended reality can offer us even beyond a classroom or a site visit. And so, I'm just going to show a few short clips of what these experiences look like. This is actually captured in a MetaQuest 2 headset, so you can get a sense of what this looks like. The 360-degree recordings not only incorporate captions, translations of non-English languages, we also bring in transliterations. Students get very uncomfortable if they can't quite parse sounds, and if they're unused to a language, they might not really be able to distinguish where one word ends and one word begins. So by incorporating transliterations, we also focus on kind of these phrases that serve as like markers. If Muslim talks about the prophet and he says, Salahu Allahu, no one knows what that means, but we can tell them what it means simply by incorporating it into these live recordings. We also provide additional contextual information. You can see there, what's the priest doing in this? Well, he's performing the communion rite. And here's the scriptural reference of where you can find this. And here's a comparative scriptural reference. It gives us so much more control over what people see and how they see it. We've also done one with a Hindu puja service where you can hear the Brahmin chanting. We can give you additional information about what is in this space, what it looks like, all of which is currently VR enabled. And because we're partnering with these religious communities, we're really trying to drive home the spaces where people do their religions. This isn't, it doesn't have to be pageantry. Not everyone goes to the Hagia Sophia or Notre Dame. These are much smaller areas that students will be able to really get a sense of what a lived religious life is like, while better understanding the purposes of the actions, the meanings of the behaviors. We can incorporate these graphics to show what is this prayer pose. We actually spend a lot of time on postures, on why people act in the ways that they do. Even my Catholic students aren't really sure, when do they stand, when do they sit? Well, we can provide all of that simply by incorporating these kind of XR techniques. And site visits are really popular in religious studies courses. People love to go to mosques and synagogues and temples. But if you're there, you don't know what's going on, and you're not going to stop and say, excuse me, Rabbi, what exactly do you mean by that, or why did you say that? So in order to attend to that, we've also incorporated interviews with religious scholars, with the practitioners themselves. And here too, we can incorporate images, we can incorporate graphics, we can show variation, we can show the different ways any one particular religion might show up. and they're hearing from the scholar or the practitioner themselves. So it really heightens our students' awareness of why they're doing what they're doing, and that they have reliable information coming out of the things that we are able to give them. Our ultimate goal will be to kind of capture these volumetrically and try to really incorporate them into the 360 experience itself. But as many people have spoken of, funding is always a problem. This was originally funded by an NEH grant and is since just kind of bootstrapped by doing the things that I want to do because I want my students to be able to see these things. We've held these, hour and a half to 2 hour long interviews and then chopped them up in much shorter lengths, thematized them, connected them to the 360-degree videos in order so students can say, I watched this, I want to know more about this. And again, we give them all this additional information about what do these words mean and why do they do the things that they're doing. At the same time, we're bringing in virtual tours using, again, 360-degree video, going into the spaces when they're quiet with the permission of the people who are performing these rites and running these spaces. We can bring in digital photography, make sure they're a little bit better detail. 360-degree cameras aren't great for these virtual tours, but what a great opportunity for students to be able to enter in, explore places at their own time, and learn about the multiple meanings and symbols of things that they might see and they might not see. The ability to move on their own pace is really helpful. And what we've tried to do is not only incorporate these informational hotspots, but keep a running tally of them. This was created through Unity. And students who are, completionists and they want to make sure they see all the hotspots get a running tally in that main screen. And it drives them to learn about more things. What is this thing? What you can go find out, and you can do it on your own time. It's really all stemming from this desire to give students the ability to do these virtual field trips. And what we're doing is curating the playlists of the experiences themselves, as well as the additional interviews to fit different religious studies curricula. We're working with other professors across the country. They want this. They want something that engages their students beyond, let's read this text and let's talk about what these people do. For that reason, we're integrating assessments, quizzes, discussion posts, site visits that guide students in what they want to see, what they should see, targeted discussion questions that to some extent makes them less able to use AI. We're losing that battle. I hate to tell you, I haven't figured that out yet. But if we can drive them to the issues that we're looking at in these practices, it helps them kind of control their own learning in a much more effective way. And our real goal is to have students create these things with a little bit of training in 360-degree photography, a little bit of training in Unity and Premiere Pro. Students can actually, in the course of a semester, record a practice, edit the materials together, learn how to caption in 360, which is a pain in the butt, but they can do all of these things in order to not only benefit their humanities education, but also gain those real world digital skills that are much in they're clamoring in the marketplace today. This is from an article I published earlier this year, just giving you a sense of, this is very early material, but what students are getting from these immersive experiences. They're finding their understanding is improved even beyond the other kinds of assessments and other kinds of projects that we do. We're finding it's increasing the humanity of the other, of people who they don't know what goes on behind those mosque doors and they scares them. And all of a sudden they're just being shown as people. And that's connected to this developing curiosity. I had a number of students who said, now that I've seen this space virtually, I'm more likely to go in person. There's a lot of people out there that want to participate in this. We are in our early stages, but that gives you a sense of how the humanities, which isn't great at this new technology, is starting to integrate this material. Our website is immersivereligion.com. I got the QR code if you want to check it out. It is in a beta mode. We're in the middle of a redesign right now, but we're looking for feedback. We're looking for other users. So if you want to check it out, give me feedback. There's my email address, and I would love to hear from all of you. So I'll end it there.
Awesome, John. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your project. It's
Pleasure.
super impressive. Okay, so now we are going to have Brayden Clark, who is a studio lead at Adventure Portal, and he's going to be talking to us about how do we actually build VR tools that educators want to use. So Brayden, I will turn it over to you.
How's it going, everyone? Hi.
Awesome.
I'm Brayden. I promise they weren't just trying to hide me because I look unprofessional with my long hair. I am part of a team out of Calgary, Alberta, that's been working for a really long time on educational virtual reality. I'm going to be talking to you today about some of the most important lessons we've learned when it comes to building educational VR content and making sure it lines up really, really well with what teachers are looking for. So I'm going to give you some background on myself and my team first, and then we're going to dive into it. So some background, I've been involved with virtual reality since about 2019, and I've been involved with educational VR since about 2020, starting with traditional single-player booth-style VR, but then eventually moving to leading some of the first teams building free roam multi-user virtual reality experiences. So VR, where you have 30 to 40 kids in a gymnasium, all running around at the bottom of the ocean, on the surface of the moon, or in ancient Rome. Right now, our team at Adventure Portal is working on building more of these experiences, both for malls and schools, where we're using free roam VR to turn whole spaces into educational portals to any space, place, or scale in history. But this isn't about us. This is about building educational VR in general. There's a large problem in our industry that we've run into time and time again. We're building successful VR tools for teachers is incredibly hard. VR is exciting, and building it for education is so appealing. Almost everyone has seen the old Star Trek holodecks or has seen Ready Player One and wanted to bring that kind of reality to education. So being passionate about it is incredibly easy. Building tools that teachers actually want to use is incredibly, incredibly hard. And here's why. Teaching is very complicated. Teachers have almost no time for tools or systems that don't bring them immediate value in their teaching. And schools have very limited budgets. So there's almost zero margin for software that doesn't fit an immediate need or easily slip into curriculum. So that's a problem. What do we do about it? Now, I have the answer to this on the next slide. And it's going to sound incredibly, incredibly simple. But we found that this is what most developers fundamentally miss when trying to build educational VR content. They don't talk to teachers. So
Brayden,
again,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry to interrupt you. I don't believe we are seeing your
Oh
slides.
no, you're not.
I thought you just weren't
I've
using
got
them, and then
such
when
a
you
good slideshow too.
perfect. Now we are seeing it. It looks great. Thank you.
Sorry, guys. So this is background on us. There's the problem. There is the why, and this is what do we do about it? So what we do about it is we talk to teachers. So many people who come into the educational VR space from a passionate background in VR don't talk to teachers on a regular basis. And so I'm going to walk you through the frameworks that we've used with this project and with past projects to overcome that and make sure that you're building the systems that teachers actually care about. So again, talk. The most common mistake we run into with any of the teams we work with or consult with is that they don't talk to teachers. Or if they do, they talk to them once every 5 or 6 months. But the problem is your vision for educational VR does not line up with the teacher's needs. I promise you it doesn't. So teachers must be the core part of your development process. And here's what we do from a practical point of view. Anytime we work with a new educational VR project that has greatly increased the teacher uptake of those projects and the general development speed and lowering of costs of those projects. First thing we do is we always insist that whatever project we're on, we have a teacher in headset in our office, at least weekly, doing a demo. A new teacher every week, preferably, but you always have to have someone who is your end user trying your software and giving you feedback. The second thing we do is start a teacher mailing list. In the past, we've started things called teacher advocate programs or teacher advisor programs, where we constantly send out new updates and new demos and ask teachers to come in or ask teachers to let us go into their schools to run regular demos. Further to that, we'll partner with schools that are local to us to run consistent demos, at least once a month, taking the hardware and software into a school to test out the entire program live and get live feedback. And the most valuable thing you can do, pay a teacher. Hire a teacher to be a part of your team. And then track it all and follow it religiously. We come from a strong background of working with startups. And one of the main startup mentalities is consistent user feedback and using that as the pillar for all of your development and marketing. You have to do that when building for educational VR, not for an end client, but for an end teacher. Whatever they say, do it. Even if it's counter to what you think is valuable within your project, write it down, keep track of everything they say, and build your product around their exact needs. Here are some of the lessons we've learned in our projects. They might not apply to you, but they've been incredibly valuable for us. We found that in free roam educational VR, teachers care far more about excitement and engagement and getting kids enthusiastic about a subject matter, far more than they do about some kind of testing system within the VR that proves competency. We've tried that. They didn't like it. They cared about it being exciting. The second thing we've learned is that provably hitting curriculum-based goals at the province or state level is incredibly important for teachers, even if you just barely hit them. Almost every teacher has a checkbox that they have to work through. And if you hit every one of those things, they're going to be very excited about slipping it into the curriculum without having to prove up the chain of command why they're slipping it in. And then the other thing we've learned is that promoting group problem solving is far more important than imparting deep information. We tried adding really, really complex interactive systems. Teachers didn't care. What they did care about is that Joe, Cindy, and Bob were all running around throwing asteroids with each other and solving problems as a team. The summary: educational VR development is hard, and you will fail if you do it in the dark. So make conversations with teachers the most important and most core part of your development process. That's it. If you have any questions about educational VR, our team is always happy to help. I'm always happy to answer questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you for putting up with my slideshow issues.
No, thank you, Brayden. And your slide deck was very beautiful. So I'm glad we got it up and running. Last but definitely not least, we have our lightning talk by Elyse Ramirez, who's a lead learning experience designer at the University of Texas at San Antonio. And she's going to be talking about how she's really transformed learning at her institution using VR across a variety of subjects. So Elyse, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you all so much for joining me today. Once again, my name is Elyse Ramirez, and I'm a lead learning experience designer at the University of Texas San Antonio under the Division of Academic Innovation. And so with this, we're currently helping instructors implement VR in a variety of courses. We are initially still in our pilot phase. We've been doing this for about 2.5 years, and we've had quite a success. And so we are building a roadmap to implement it in more courses. And with the recent merger with our UT health system locally, it will open the door to implement it in more disciplines around the medical field, such as nursing and just practicing medicine in general. And so as part of our pilot, we've currently piloted VR in about 11 courses, 8 unique courses, because we have some instructors who teach the same course or subject area. And so we have different instructors, but still using the same course. And so starting off our pilot was in the fall of 22 with a philosophy of space and exploration course. And with that course, we were able to help the instructor implement VR as part of the students' assignments, and where they got to explore different space formations, stars, even tour the International Space Station, and they even got to meet virtually using the Meta Horizons interface. And so with that, since it got huge success, we were also able to implement it in a History 1053 course, which is the Civil War to present. And in that course, students were able to put themselves in a specific time in history where they were able to visit the Anne Frank house, where they were able to listen to her story, pick up objects, turn them, interact with them, as well as go through scenes of the Berlin Wall. And with that, we've also implemented in a variety of more courses, such as anthropology with museum tours, Spanish, a virtual road trip where students who aren't able to go visit Spain or study abroad, we brought Spain to them using 360 virtual tours with the VR headset. We've also implemented in a basic engineering course where they got to play with an assembly line and kind of use objects to build, to make sure that the objects are not defective and stuff. And also, we also implemented in an oral communications course where students are learning English as a second language, and they're able to practice their language skills as well in a virtual reality environment. Currently, we are partnering with an instructor who is doing a digital archaeology and VR in Peru game for students who don't have access to VR technology in Peru, and we're utilizing this game for them to use it to look at artifacts around their country and learn more about their culture in the virtual reality environment. And finally, our last course that we're actually really proud of that we're implementing this semester is an employee and labor relations course where students are practicing with an AI avatar, conflict resolutions, and how to manage employees in a virtual environment space. And so with our implementation, we've actually had a lot of great success. And so one of the things about our institution is that 45% of our students are first generation students, especially for undergrad, and they don't have the resources. And this is part of the experience that this is the first time even coming face to face with a technology such as this. And so one of the things that they really liked was how immersive and realist it is, especially with the assignments or the activities that they're doing as part of the headsets. Of course, they also like the interactivity and engagement, and of course, the uniqueness and the technology in general. Of course, those are some positive things that they really enjoyed about the virtual reality experience that we have implemented so far at UTSA. But of course, there are some things that they don't like. Along with virtual reality, of course, if it's a brand new tool that they've never used before, there is going to be some technical difficulties. And that's one of the things that we notice when we're helping instructors implement their courses and the courses come to us in our shared space lab. We notice that students struggle a little bit on how to get started. Although we provide a kiosk mode using our management software where students can just click on the link or app to open whatever activity that they have. Some of them, especially like 360 videos, we need to walk them through how to get started. Hence is the technical difficulties and how long it takes for them to get set up. Another thing is, of course, physical discomfort. There are some students who have expressed that they get sick with the headset, or if they wear glasses, they're not able to put their glasses in the headsets because they're too wide, or the headsets are too big. And so we did notice that there was some physical discomfort with some of the students who have used VR in these courses. And then, of course, for us, since we're still piloting the implementation of VR so far in these courses in the variety of disciplines, students have expressed content and interaction limitations. The reason is because right now, since we are piloting, we do look for free content that's out there, which is of course 360 videos or anything that's on the Meta Horizons App Store that we can access for free. And then of course, students want to be able to interact with objects and not just sit there and just watch a video within the headset where they can simply just do it on the computer. And so with that, that's why we're looking for more content, and on our roadmap, we are going to hopefully develop our own content to broaden our disciplines of who we can support as part of this initiative. And so, as I mentioned, some future directions and expansions as part of our pilot is, of course, we want to expand to more courses. Like I mentioned, we've implemented 8 unique courses, 11 courses so far, but students have expressed that they want to see VR more in history, STEM courses, art, and cultural studies. We also want to incorporate new VR technology. Right now, we use the MetaQuest 2 headsets, and like I said, we've had them for almost 3 years, and we're looking to purchase more headsets, but this time the MetaQuest 3. But we're also looking to look at more technologies and software on how we can improve that immersive experience and the quality. And last but not least, the ongoing feedback that we get from not only the students, but from the faculty that we work with as well. We want to be able to address the concerns of addressing the technical issues, any physical discomfort, and of course, refine any VR content that's out there to enhance the learning experience and give something that the students can enjoy and take away that they can use in the real world. And so with that, if anybody has any questions or would like to talk more about what we're doing at UTSA, please feel free to send me an email or send my partner, Robert, who is unable to join us today. We're a team of 2 taking on all these courses, so we're happy to share our experiences and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Elyse. I'm so impressed at how much y'all have actually implemented it throughout the university. That's great. And it's great to hear that the students are like asking for more and more subject matters as well.